Welcome back to the Love, Truth, and Power podcast. In this episode, we hear the voices of beautiful and empowered young women, their pain, their struggles, their growth, and the bonds that bind them, growing up in a village of color. Let's get into it. Okay, thank you girls for joining me. I really appreciate having you here. I do the intro second. So here's your first question to introduce yourself, okay? It's tell us your name, and without saying your parents' name, don't say their name, just introduce your parents to us and to the audience. Don't say their name, just say your name and then introduce your parents.
As a couple?
Introduce your father and then your mother, not as a couple.
My name is Silvery, and my parents.
Your father first.
My dad is a funny, loving, involved father. My mom is.
Tell the truth. I'm her mom, but tell
me. A really intentional, really loving, a little too involved mother.
She's accurate.
I'll go next. I'm Tiara. My dad, the coolest, most charismatic, fun-loving personality, just all around honorable man. The world will never get another. And my mother, the most calm, just poised and intellectual woman who is just a class act. For sure.
My name is Rachel. My father is a very trustworthy, strong, intelligent man of God. And my mother is my queen, my rock, my rib, and an all-around amazing woman.
My name is Brianna. My dad is the most open, the most honest, the most caring person in the world. My mother is the most overprotective, honest, craziest person I've ever met, but love her to death.
I know her. She's accurate about that.
My name is Ashley. My dad is the GOAT. He's very caring, very suave, never lets us go without. And he's very much the dad, but your best friend at the same time. And my mom is the best, my support system, my rock, the best grandma ever. And yeah.
She's a fine grandma, by the way.
My name is Lucretia. My dad is a strong, family-oriented man. My mom is a truthful, blunt, but loving woman. I'm Tanisha. My dad is a great man. Very easy to talk to. And very loving. My mom is a firecracker. Very open, very strong, really just resilient woman.
I'm Lyric. My dad is very funny, approachable, giving, and humble. And my mom is very ruthless and very intense, but in the best ways possible.
So thank you for introducing them. So now, as you guys were talking, I think one of the things you might have not noticed, and I want to point out, is that as you guys were introducing your parents, each of you, the rest of you were shaking your head. And that's because you guys are in a very privileged and unique position where each of you was raised around the other's parents, and all of us and them were very involved in all of you guys' lives. And so I want you to speak to what that experience was like for you. And I get that you can't put it in a different context because you don't know the other side of not being raised in a community like that was very invested in you guys' lives. But if you could just go back to, your early childhood, not too long ago, but, as teens, if you just go back to that moment, I want if you could share, like, what was an experience that you had in the community that you really value about having other parents involved in your life? Something that you really value.
Does it necessarily have to be like from your childhood?
Not necessarily.
I would think for me, I don't get to see the dads often because going away for school and then moving and stuff like that. But when I moved into my first home, they all showed up and made sure that I was good, blessed my home for me. And I just value that because not everyone my age or a young woman at all has the opportunity to call someone else's father to show up for them. So I appreciate that.
I think I appreciate that all of us being like Army brats when dads were deployed or gone or whatever. It was never like a lacking experience. Like if dad was deployed, we could run next door, Mr. McKay, can you look at this? Mr. Page, can you do this? I think that's probably one of the greatest things growing up because it's easy to miss them when they're gone. But to have 5 other dads in the neighborhood is a blessing.
I want to speak to that Army brat experience. My mother was deployed, and there was a time Thanksgiving was coming around, and my dad didn't know how to cook. Even though he would try and claim like he was the best chef ever, Miss Ruth was nice enough and so gracious to open her home for us to have Thanksgiving dinner, and he talked about, oh, this food is so good. After that, he just kept talking about it, and I didn't realize like the magnitude of how much that gesture meant to not just me, because I'm just like a kid, like, oh yeah, I'm going to Silvery Ash, but like for my dad to know that there are other people in this community that he can lean on and that we lean on each other. It means so much more now that I'm an adult, and I just never thank you, but thank you. But yeah.
I think I want to piggyback off that. For me, Thanksgiving was always, we going to the person's house, because not all of us were able to go and visit our family. So the fact that we had another family open their door amongst having their family there and allowing us to celebrate holidays with them, that was a blessing. Not a lot of people have that. And even to this day, I mean, we haven't spoken in so long, but it feels like we're so welcome here, and you just don't get that often.
For me, when I lost Ryan, my dad wasn't there that night. But Mr. McKay was. And Mr. Froston was like, oh, so let me know.
And I think that's just speaks volumes. Like the relationship was so genuine. Like in that situation, they just go, they just come wherever. It's not a question, and you feel like they're actually our dads or our other moms. It's not like a Mr. type of thing, a distant person. It's actually family.
I would say mine's a little petty, but like, I just remember it meant something to me back then, because of course I had like wild hair growing up. And I remember mom had like limited knowledge of what to do with my hair. And I remember a few times like when I wanted my hair cornrow, I remember Tiara's mom wait cornrow my hair. And it got real bad, real nasty one time, and Miss Tanya came and permed my hair for me. And like I said, it's petty, but like in hindsight, it's just like good to have, you know, that village and other women who know, you know, what to do or step in when need be, because they was not ready to have me walk around looking a hot mess.
So, what is something that used to get on your nerves as a teenager about your parents that you now have come to appreciate?
Oh my gosh, the strictness.
We couldn't go nowhere.
Oh my god.
Where we gonna start?
How long we got? That's a whole podcast right there. I think like a lot of people on Fort Lee had a lot of freedoms, and they could go walk anywhere. They went to all the youth center parties, and we were literally confined to the cul-de-sac to the point that we were walking around like hamsters on a wheel because we couldn't go nowhere.
I had to ask to walk to the bus stop.
The bus stop that we went to every day for school, we had to ask on the weekend if we could go to the bus stop.
Up the hill.
Walk to the shop at.
Right.
Take your sister with you.
That's because y'all was always right behind us.
No,
Even
anyway,
walking around
the
the
three of
circle.
us. Mom said we gotta go.
And we didn't walk with y'all, we walked about 10 feet
Ten
behind
feet
y'all.
behind the ground. We didn't want to be seen with y'all.
And then the other ones
We
was
was trying to
behind
be
y'all. Terrible.
But I will say now, knowing how crazy the world is,
Yeah.
like I get it. Only like, I mean, I don't have kids, but like just going to the store with Maddox, I can't let him be out my sight at all, or like not within. Like I could grab you real quick if somebody try to like come and snatch you. And at the time, I ain't get it because I'm like, who finna kidnap us? Like, it's right down the street. We on Fort Lee, like.
Bring us back.
But like I said, now I appreciate it, just like knowing how crazy the world is. And it's like, I mean, a million other ways that y'all restrict, but just the fact that I feel like we're a little more level-headed than other women in the world, I feel. Now that like, because I feel like we were sheltered on Fort Lee, but like once we got off Fort Lee and you really see like what's going on out here, it was necessary for y'all to be a little strict on us because we would have been wilding.
And especially the way things are nowadays, where everything seems to be so centered on destroying the black woman, I can see why you guys made sure you knew where we were at all times and stuff like that. Especially with having my own kid, I couldn't imagine him asking to walk somewhere. He ain't going nowhere.
And it had to be in this group. Like I couldn't sleep at anybody's house unless it was
Unless
somebody
it was
from
this
this
group.
group.
Yeah. And then my mom would be like, "Can I meet their parent?" I'm like, "Why you gotta meet their parent?"
Do it too.
Let me tell Silver house. I ain't gonna ask her.
My child, y'all know she don't go nowhere. And as a social worker, baby, I know how to investigate. I'm asking all the questions. Who you is, who your family is, what mental health y'all got any abuse history, y'all got some criminal history. I'm all up in that.
And then it was crazy to realize that y'all was really like a team, because you could just be like, "Oh, well, I'm going to stay at T house. Okay, well, I'm about to call Miss Page and make sure."
There won't be no lies over
Right. There's no line.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna go back to your dad's, and if you could tell me, what is one of the greatest compliments that your dad has ever given
Well, you guys know when I was a child, I was bad. So to hear my father say that he's proud of the woman that I have become and the mother and the wife that I am means a lot. I came a long way. And so that is one of the greatest compliments that I've ever heard from my dad, is that he's
proud of the woman that I am, the mother that I am, and the wife that I am. So.
I think it's probably when Dad played that song for us, and he was like, "This is exactly how I feel about you guys," and it was my greatest inspiration. I think that, and to piggyback on what Rachel said, him telling me that I'm a really good mom means a lot.
I think for me, my dad always relates my heart to his. He always says I'm so selfless and always giving and caring for other people just like him. So that means a lot because everybody I know looks up to my dad and they appreciate him for all that he does. So it means a lot that he thinks that of me too. So.
For me, my dad, he was a man of very few words, unless he had a joke. And my family is really weird. We knew everyone, you know, we all loved each other. We didn't really give compliments. We gave like a backhanded compliment. But he would look at me and just smile and shake his head. If I graduated high school and college, he would just look at me, smile, shake his head, and be like, "All right, good job, little one." Or he would just, tell me, "Yeah, you're doing good. You're doing good." Or when I was your age, I didn't have all this. When I was your age, I didn't have this job making all this money. And I'm like, "Well, yeah, times have changed." That's his way of complimenting me, and that was enough for me. I just knew that in his eyes, I was all right, and that's all I needed.
I think with my dad, he has a way of complimenting me when I need it the most, but it's not like he knows when I need it the most. He just happens to just say it. And one that really gets to me is when he tells me that I'm strong and that he's witnessed me overcome plenty of obstacles and different trials that I've had to encounter in life. I think that means a lot.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off that one because that's like what I was gonna say about that. I was trying to get my words together. I was like, I ain't finna brought up this somebody else go. But I just remember specifically going through a hard time, and this ain't no shade to my siblings or whatever, but I remember him coming to me when I was having like a weak moment, and him saying like, "I know for a fact you're the strongest of all my children. Like, I know for a fact everything you're going through, like, you got this." I ain't finna cry. And I don't know.
Right.
It just like, I don't even know if he was lying or not, but I just know in the moment, it just like made me stand tall, like, yeah, I got this. It's cool. And to know that he thought of me that way made me feel like, alright, you gotta be strong. Like, this how he look at you. You ain't gonna break down. Like, so yeah, that was like probably the most uplifting thing he could have said to me.
I think mine was my major in college. I studied the arts, and he was like, "Okay, like, I trust your decision," even though I know he kind of didn't agree with it. Like, you can't just find a job in the arts, but if this is what you want to do and you're saying it, I trust your decision. And it was almost like, if you do this, the repercussions are yours. So it's kind of backhanded, but also like, he says I can do it this right, I'm gonna do it. You did that. Yeah. Unemployed, but did that.
I think for me, it's just my dad telling me that he's proud of me, because I'm his favorite firstborn.
I'm glad you ended that up in the
Sir, I'm your only firstborn, but that's fine. Just him being proud of me, because my parents, I'm emotional, I'm sensitive, so they could say something to me and I'd be ready to cry. So, my goodness. Just being proud of the things I've accomplished just with school and getting my licenses and just every job I ever encountered, just him being supportive and just always being there.
So now I'm going to flip it to a little bit more complicated one, right? Because the relationship between fathers and daughters is usually very, special when they're present and around and influential. The relationship between daughters and mothers usually is much more complicated. And it doesn't change, you know, it's just what it is, regardless of the community that you're raised in. It's always a complicated relationship with mothers and daughters. And so I'm going to ask you to share just a memory or a piece of advice or a compliment that your mom has given you that maybe was hard to receive in the moment. And now that you're an adult, you realize, okay, it was for my good, right? Because no matter how old you get, I think the relationship dynamics don't change between mothers and daughters. So,
So when I first had Ryan, and I'm thinking, you know, this is my man, he supposed to help, we a team, we doing this together. My mama said, you're the woman, it's on the woman. Excuse me? Why is it on the woman? Like, I ain't do this by myself. This is 50-50. Like, you change pamper, you give a bottle, whatever. And just going through that whole thing, even up until now, I see, like, yeah, it is really mostly the woman. I mean, it shouldn't be that way, but it is. And back then, I was a little upset about, like, that's real, like, sexist. Like, don't put me in no box. Like, this ain't all on me. But at that time, not knowing that where I was gonna be now, like, yeah, it is, you know, a lot of it is on the woman, unfortunately.
I think at some point, at many points in the past, I was in relationships I shouldn't have been in, but one in particular.
Amen. Amen.
I think even though it was simple, even though it was simple advice, I think it does make you snap too when you're like, okay, I love you, but you're better than what you're doing right now. And you're better than what you're dealing with. And I think back then, this was like, I'm just out here trying to have fun. And now that I'm grown, I'm like, that really sits with me.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay. To, I guess, kind of expound on what Ashley was saying, relationships and also trying to withhold information from my mother, I would say. Not lie, but withhold information.
It's different.
They gonna find it, they know.
Yes.
I like that word.
Yes. So she told me really simple, like, stand in your truth. And nobody else can tell you otherwise. If you stand in your truth, you don't have a reason to lie. You don't have a reason to withhold information, because this is your decision and you're a woman and you stand on it. And from that point forward, life has just been so different, because everything I do, I have reasons for it, and there's no one that, you know, can sway me in one way or the other. So I've been standing in my truth ever since, and it's just being a woman.
Whew. We all know my mother. She is very aggressive and intense when she's trying to tell you something, but she always means it with love. And I think my relationship with my mom is different than my siblings. We are so close. Lord Jesus.
You want some tissue?
Bet not.
But I'm not the only one.
Sorry. My mom is so selfless, and she sacrificed a lot of herself for her children. And I remember I had a very low point in college, and I wanted to give up. And I didn't want to hear her encouraging words or what she thought was encouraging, but I'm just like, I don't want to hear this. And she just would always say, like, I want you to be better than me. My mom loves her life, loves her children, loves her husband, and everything that she had to endure to get to where she is. But she doesn't want her children to go through that. And I would appreciate that now, because I'm in such a good place with my career, my personal life, and she is to thank for that. So.
Kind of like what Bree said, you know, when she's trying to be there for you, give you advice, and uplift you, is very stern and blunt, and you don't want to hear it. But I mean,
there were times when I wanted to give up. I'm not trying to get too personal, but within my marriage and things like that. And she would encourage me and tell me, it's not worth it. Don't give up. Keep fighting. Things like that. So I can appreciate it for that. I didn't cry.
Well, I'd say what irritated me so bad before that now I appreciate probably more than any other time in my life is just when I would come with like a specific problem, like this is what I'm going through, and my mom would just like, just pray, just talk to God about it. I'm like, girl, this ain't what I want to hear. I need a real solution like right now.
Right.
And it would just be so like, and we always had kind of a relationship with God, like we grew up in the church, but not really. And the relationship before was like, I just pray, say my grace, God please wake me up in the morning, and that was it. Now, the more I've gone through different things, I realize like how important that relationship is, because I was always trying to solve my problems in the most worldly ways, or like, I'm going to do this, and that should lead to this, and then I should be here, or if I just do this, that'll fix this. And God would always be like, no, like, always humbling me, always reminding me, like, and like now when I think about everything that I've been through, nothing I did changed anything. It was always God and God's timing and me praying and me talking to God. And now, when I've been in more recent situations, that I realize, like, I literally have no control over this. I literally feel like nobody feels me. I literally have nobody to talk to about this. And now I realize only person I've had to really rely on is God. Like, I can talk to my friends, I can talk to my mom, but y'all not. Y'all really can't fix it either. Like, the only person who can get me through it and fix it is God. And I feel so much better now. Like, when I pray or when something happens, I know now I go instantly to, like, I have no control over this. God's gonna fix it. I just gotta wait it out. I've done this before. I'm gonna do it again. Like, and I only have that relationship with God because of my mom hounding me. Like, just pray about it. Just give it to God. Just give it to God. And like before, it just like, okay, I'm done talking to you. But now I can go to Him without even having to talk to anybody else, because at the end, it is His say so, and it takes so much stress off me now to just know, like, He gonna work it out.
Amen.
Can you repeat the question?
This one.
I'm just saying, everybody's saying a bunch of different stuff. I'm like, hold on.
So the relationship with moms are usually more complicated between daughters and mothers, right? And so what one piece of advice that she gave you or said to you that used to work your nerves, but now has turned out to be true, and like, okay, yeah, she was right. Pick one thing that has
I think the thing that stuck with me the most is that to play my part. And for me, I always saw like a lot of potential in things and situations and maybe even people. And you, instead of telling me like it's gonna be a fairy tale or it's gonna go this way, it's like, okay, but this is the role you have to play. Like, you're gonna have to take the lead. And I'm like, no, it'll go in a different way because I'm gonna plan for it to be this way. Like, based on either the person that you're with or your personality, play your role and plan for that. Don't just think it's gonna be a fairy tale, because nothing really is. And even though I didn't like it at the moment, looking back, I'm like, yeah, that would have been a whole different situation had I just stepped up and not tried to make myself something that I wasn't.
One thing I will say that with my mom, her bluntness and her truthfulness can come off as, sometimes I'll take it as her being mean. Well, I used to, not now, but I used to take it as that. But one thing that stuck out is her truthfulness with saying everybody isn't your friend. And I would tell her about my friendships or my problems, or so-and-so did this or whatever, and she would let me know, like, you know, everybody ain't your friend, or that person may not have the best intentions for you. But back then, I looked at it as, she don't know what she's talking about. That's my friend. I don't know what she's talking about. But all in all, now that we've grown up, there was things that she could see, parents could see, that we couldn't at that time.
This is a two-parter, okay? And I'm going to introduce it. So young women today are under a lot of pressure to be fit and fabulous and a magazine cover ready person at all times. And the definition of beauty has regularly, intentionally, and systemically always worked to program all of us, right, to believe that beauty is defined in blonde, blue eyes, straight hair, skinny. And so one, as a woman, right, and like I said, and as you get older, you're expected to be all things to all people. So if you could just talk about your experience about having to be all those things as a young woman, the pressure that it is, and how you experienced it. And then following that, because it's a two-part question, I also want you to reflect on anything that your parents or the village, the community has done to help you be strong in who you are, even though you don't match the blonde, blue eye European definition of beauty.
That's fine. Sorry, I can't jump on this one. Growing up as a dark-skinned woman was a struggle. Growing up and having kids tell you that you were ugly because you were darker than them, and hate you because you were dark-skinned. And the crazy part about it was I never got it from anybody that was Caucasian, blue eyes, blonde hair. I got it from everybody that was black like me. So for people who were my people to hate me because I was darker than them, I didn't understand that. And even to this day, I still get some of it. And then being within this community where I was in my group of friends, I'm the only dark-skinned person in my group of friends. So always feeling a little less than because I was dark-skinned and because of what other people told me. So that in itself was a struggle. Always feeling like I had to do more to kind of keep up with my friends who I felt like didn't have to do as much because they were light-skinned. But then having those same friends and same community kind of back me up and say, like, there's nothing wrong with you. Like, black is beautiful. Like, I wish I could get a little bit of that. And, like, you don't want these problems. So just as a dark-skinned woman, like, there was no place for us in society's view of what beautiful was. I feel like until recently. I feel like now there's a bunch of dark-skinned women out there that are in the spotlight, that are beautiful, gorgeous, and people are supporting them for that. But before that, there was nothing that included us. If you weren't white or light, you weren't right. So, and then trying to be fit. Okay, even if I am smaller than what I am now, I'm still dark skinned. So what is it really gonna do for me?
I think in the younger days, it was the opposite problem of everybody thought you were better than everybody else because you were light skinned or because you were mixed, or you're soft because you're light skinned, so then people try to bully you for no reason. And I think it helped. I mean, obviously having parents, but it helped having friends, like, because we would have certain people in the neighborhood that would say things and act like, you know, they want to fight you just because you're prettier than what they are. But, like, one, you can't control that, but it helps having the friends that just like, girl, we can all go fight her right now. Not that that's the right answer, but to have that support makes a difference.
And I want to say something about that, like, just the group of friends and the support you have. I didn't know that back then. Like, I didn't know that it was because of the way that I looked that they felt intimidated, because I didn't feel that confidence within myself.
Right.
But now that I'm older and I see, I'm still getting it till this day. Like, you know, I have women that feel intimidated, so they treat me rude and try to bully me and try to, you know, get one up on me, and it's just ridiculous. Like, it's crazy that even till this day I still have to deal with that. But when I was younger, I was a stick figure and I wanted to be thicker, and I just thought that was the thing. Like, you have to have, hips and butt and stuff like that. And then now that I'm a little thicker, I feel like you gotta have a flat stomach, and I just don't know what to do. So having that group of friends and that village, like, always uplift you. Like, girl, you look good, you're beautiful. Girl, you married, you ain't gotta worry about that. But it's just a confidence within myself. Like, I know that I'm married, and I know that I would never do anything, but I just want to feel beautiful within myself. And everybody has their own insecurities. So this world is just crazy, man. They make you want to feel like you're supposed to look like this, and you want to go get your butt lifted, and it's just so much. It's just crazy. But yeah, I feel like I didn't answer that correctly, so I'm sorry.
The one thing that made me feel more normal was that even though I looked at my friends, like, in my mind, they didn't have any struggles like I had. Like, y'all couldn't understand what it was like being dark skinned and having people hate you to be dark skinned, but realizing they had those same struggles for being light skinned. And honestly, and it might sound really bad, but it made me feel better because I felt like I wasn't alone.
Right.
Like, even
Everybody
though
has their own struggle.
Right.
I felt like they were on whatever level or pedestal or whatever, they still had their own insecurities. So even if you are what society feels like you should be, there's always going to be somebody that has something to say about it.
Yep.
So it's like you have to be secure within yourself so that no matter what anybody else has to say, it doesn't shake that foundation that you have for yourself.
So I can agree with that. I didn't personally have that type of experience growing up, and if I did, I never paid attention to it. But I would say now that I'm older and I'm in the corporate world, I'm around blonde hair, blue eyes, stick figures, and I'm currently battling fixing myself. Having conversations with my dad about I need to get a breast reduction because I'm walking around looking like this and they look like that. Then being mixed, having a black dad and a white mom, they want you to pick a side and stay there. But my parents are very be true to you. You have both sides. You can embrace both of those. So that's something that I feel like we've battled as well. Am I gonna support the black people or support the white people? And it's just,
And I know I went already, but I just want to say this. It's so bad that my son is like, Mom, you're white. Because of what he hears from other people. Oh, your mom's so light skinned and she black. So he thinks I'm white. And I have to explain to him, Mari, no, Papa is black and Nama is white. Mommy is mixed. I'm just not white. But since I'm light skinned, he think I'm white. And we still working on that.
Because he's darker than you. Mari,
Well, to piggyback kind of off what Rachel was saying, I feel like it's the same as far as me being light skinned. I didn't know that what the issue was until I actually moved off of Fort Lee first, and then being in middle school and high school, then I knew why. Then I feel like it did change me to make me. I'm a more aggressive person. I'm the fighter. Because people always try to bully me or belittle me or say they're gonna cut my face up if the guy they liked me and stuff like that. And I didn't understand it at first, and so I feel like it kind of shaped me to make me more aggressive. But I also feel like because this was after the village, this is when we moved off base, so I feel like on base everything felt a little more normal because we had. Obviously, my mom's Mexican, my dad's black. Next door was them. Their mom was white. Their dad was black. Their parents were black. But it wasn't it didn't seem, and that's how I thought the world was.
Right.
I thought that was normal at the time. And because they showed us so much love and didn't treat me better because I'm light skinned and her worse because she's dark skinned, I didn't think. I feel like y'all just gave us so much love that it gave us confidence, as kids, to just be able to be kids and not have those problems. But now that I'm older and there's social media, it makes me second guess myself in a way that I've never second guessed myself before. And like I said, it's more so society. If it wasn't for social media, just if I just had these friends and the people that we grew up with, I wouldn't have the same issues. But now it does make me fit. But when I was a kid, I didn't realize it was a problem that I ain't had no butt. I knew Grisha had a big butt. But I didn't think it was an issue till social media or until people start saying things and luckily for me, I've always had a certain level of self-confidence, even when I won't that cute, just because I feel like my mom just like instilled that in me. Like, she made me think I was a stuff, so I thought I was stuff. But little things like growing up, I would say too, like me having red hair was a real insecurity of mine. Like, I just felt like I was like, what are you? And that's the thing. It was like, Mom, you guys, you guys as moms, all the time, like, oh, your hair is so different, you're so special, da, da, da. And I'm just like, they trying to make me feel better. I know what's up. I know I look different. But, and then as I got older, it's still black now because I like it. But like, as I got older, I got more confident in it because, like I said, of the village, of them telling me it was pretty, of their moms telling me it was pretty, of Mr. Page always calling me Big Red, everything. So it's like, I feel like even when I get insecure, I still have a little level of balance in me because I grew up with people telling me that I was enough.
Yes, ma'am.
Can we bring the red back?
Yes.
I missed it.
Not yet.
I'm like Lyric. Oh, what was the question again?
So like, oh.
So I did all this introduction about the expectations to be fit, fabulous, and match the, what is defined as beauty. And so I was asking, how does that impact you? What pressure it put, and what helped you?
I will say for myself, being a very figured woman, everybody would look at it as, ooh, your body looks nice, or I want your body, and all that other stuff. But the stigma that comes with that, people interpret you as this type of person that you're not, or she thinks she's all that because she got a lot of or she thinks she can get anybody she want, or even to the point of where, oh, she may sleep with a lot of men or have all these men because of how her body looks. And it was to a point where I humbled myself. I was never overconfident, like trying to show my body or nothing. Like, I could simply wear certain clothes that other people could wear, but my body would still stand out. And I remember at times, it wasn't until after high school that I actually was proud of my body. In high school, middle school, I used to hide my body. I'd wear big t-shirts. I wouldn't wear tight jeans because of the attention that my body would get. But now it's like, embrace what you have. Who cares what someone says? I have family and friends who know who I am, and I don't listen to what society or social media and the haters say.
Well, let me borrow it for a weekend.
Yeah, I would pretty much say the same thing as Syl and Creed, because I've always kind of been not overconfident, but when I got my hair done, my mom would braid it or I would get it straight. You couldn't tell me nothing. And also, as I got older, I developed. I had like boobs and other people didn't, so I would wear like big shirts. And then I had a conversation with my sister about it. I'm like, well, why is this happening? She's like, it's normal, embrace it. But I'd never felt like I could talk to like my mom about it or like other people, just because it was like an insecurity. But I did feel confident talking to my sister and like making sure that nothing's wrong with me, like this is normal, because other people, like kids your age, would be like, you would notice it's attention and it's like negative. It's not anything that you are doing different. It's just comes with, the territory. But yeah, having that person you can go to and you can feel confident, it just helps.
I think being so young on Fort Lee and having this like kind of village, we had the parents, but then we also had like all these older sisters. Like, my image wasn't even something that I thought about until I got to high school, or maybe like junior high school, when other people started making comments because I had boobs or because I was bigger, or I was probably like the biggest one out of my friends. I was taller, I was bigger, and everything. And so, but I never thought about it because of how we were raised with everybody. And I remember just really feeling down about it. And it was just one time they were here getting ready to go out to the club, and they just didn't care about nothing but having a good time. And that left a really big influence on me. Like, why are you worried about it? Who are these people? They're not going to be anybody. no time soon. And I was like, in a couple of years, I'll be out of here and it'll be fine. But just their confidence of going out and having fun, like, left a really big impact on me and how I looked at myself.
So women are often pitted against each other. And many times, you know, we buy into that and are less supportive of each other, particularly in communities of color, as you guys just alluded to, right? It's the dark skin versus light skin, straight hair versus natural hair, and so on and so on and so on. And so, and as women, you know, we don't always necessarily have to be pleasant and get along, and we know that, right? But many times it's used, right, to pit us against each other, just our differences. But I know, you know, from my experience as an adult and watching you guys, you know, grow up, separate, come back together, things happen. One of the things that has been consistent that I see about you guys is that if one of you succeeds or does something or has some type of milestone or whatever, no matter how society is and has been to pit women against each other at every age and any age, one of the things that has been encouraging from a woman's perspective is that when one of you reaches a milestone, all of you are happy for that person, regardless of closeness, distance, life happens. Where do you think that comes from, and why has that not been something that actually works to separate and pit you guys against each other? Again, we all know that we're grown and we have differences, but it's never. But if one of you has something that's gone right for you, all the rest of you are happy for that person. Where do you think that comes from?
I say.
We all got it.
He was great on that. Before it's all this silence.
I think it's, honestly, I think it comes from the way we were raised. I think especially with you, Mom, like, you always instilled like a certain confidence in us. So a lot of women who seem to be lost is because you don't come from the best foundation, I think. Because you made it very clear to us that because she does something amazing, it doesn't take anything away from me. I can be happy for you and whatever you have going on. And I think that is a big thing with social media and younger people nowadays. You feel like you can't cheer her on because you're not there, but that's not your life and that's not your journey. And I think the fact that you put that in us, like raised us that way, I can always be happy for somebody else and cheer them on, even if that's not where I get to be yet. It doesn't take away anything from their accomplishment and me being happy for them.
I feel like a lot of the things that we've gone through, it never had anything to do with us being light skin or dark skin. Our issues never surrounded that aspect of our friendship. But then, like what Ashley was saying, at the end of the day, if your friend is winning, it doesn't take away from you. But also, if God can do that for you in their life, then what can he do for you in your life? If you can see him blessing somebody else, he gonna bless you as well. So don't get mad or envious of their blessing. It may not be for you at that time, but it's going to come. So you stand and you support them in their blessing, their happiness, whatever moment they're having, because yours is coming.
Yeah, and I also think, just because it came to my head, like really, for me, I'm pro-black. So if you win, I win. That's how I see it. If you're winning, I'm winning. If she's winning, then I'm winning. When I win, you win.
So and I'm going to bring you back to the question because I like the answer, but go deeper for both of you. Where does that come from, though? Is what I'm saying. So even those things that you guys said are true, but where does it come from? So for you, T, when you were talking about that, you can have that thought about, okay, so God is going to, he's going to bless you and he's going to bless me, but go deeper. Like, where does that belief come from?
Like that mentality?
Correct, because not everybody believes that way.
Right.
And so since we're changing the narrative, for me it's like, what is that? How did you get there? How did you arrive there?
I think it's the loyalty we were raised on.
Yeah. And watching y'all and how your friendship with like our parents, and we had something to look up to, and I think that it helped us all.
Because I wasn't always happy for the next person. You know, I was the one that, oh, why isn't this happening to me? Why does she get to do this? And she's done all this in her life, but she gets to be blessed with this, and I did this. And so I wasn't always like that. I literally had to grow into that and humble myself and, you know, talk to myself and stuff like that. And I am there now. I'm happy. You know, even if we don't talk, I'm still happy for what you have going on, and, you know, and pray for you, and, you know, glad that you're being blessed and stuff like that. So I did have to grow into that. I wasn't always that kind of person. So
Yeah, and I do think it comes from the way we were raised in the village we were raised in, because even like sometimes, like back in the day, you know, when you're young, it's not as apparent that that's how it is. You're just like, well, why does she get to do this and I don't get to do this?
right.
But I know that one time I had a conversation with Dad, and it was just like, you know how anytime Silver does something great or Lyric does something great or whatever, you're rooting for them and it feels like a win for you and you're proud. It's the same with T, Rachel, Tiana, Tiara, Creisha, Brianna, Sierra. You're all sisters.
Right.
So when somebody wins, they're always winning, and I think it comes from that, like the foundation of you and Dad instilling that in us and having those conversations and letting me sit in my confidence that it doesn't take anything away from me to cheer you on.
And I think like what Sylvie said earlier, like they didn't treat us a different type of way because we were light skinned and they were dark skinned. So they never made us feel like we were ever in competition with each other.
Right.
It was just what it was. We were just family.
Right, we were all really legit, just
Right.
friends. Like,
Yeah, we're just all related.
And I would say too, like, because now I realize I always thought I was old, but like now that they're like in their 30s and we're like about to be in our 30s, and I realize now when we were kids, y'all were this age, and y'all could have had. Our parents were this age.
Oh, okay.
So, even more so now, thinking about it, like, I never saw you or their moms competing with each other.
Right.
I never saw y'all. I never even sat around and heard y'all bad mouthing other women.
Right.
I never felt like it was a competition. It was like always so much love that I can't even think of them this way. Not even just them, but like any other person that way. And like I said, we're not, it's in our nature, like we're women. You have phases of jealousy, you have phases of feeling certain things, but because it's not our core, because of how we grew up, I feel like it makes it's probably easier for us than it is for the rest of society, because I don't believe a lot of people grew up that way. And on top of that, because of like the love that y'all have and still have, and the respect and love that y'all have always shown each other, I feel like that's why our issues have only ever go but so far.
Yeah.
Because the respect that y'all have and love that y'all have and how y'all carried yourself, and because one issue hurts everybody.
Yeah.
And I'll even say, because of y'all's love, not even just in the up moments, in the low moments, that's what makes us come together. Because when I say, I'm gonna give my own examples. Like when I say when I did get them little movie roles or whatever, I would say we weren't speaking, but Rachel did reach out to me. Like a few people here reached out to me last year when I was going through what I was going through. Everybody here, everybody here reached out to me, and we were not speaking. Everybody here wrote me long messages, like about their own lives, about my life, supporting me. And when T had her cancer scare last year, like, we was all in DC at Ashley's house, but we flew down. As soon as you called, I don't want y'all to panic, but we getting our things, let's go. Like, it all comes from like the love and foundation that y'all built, and that just like kind of trickled down to us, to where I feel like even when y'all are gone, whatever the issue is, we always gonna take care of each other.
I think what also helps kind of make the situation even more humbling is that when you are looking at somebody else's life and you're like, dang, I wish I had that. Because I've had conversations with Rachel, I can put business out there like that. But we've had conversations, and I be like, before baby Ryan, like, I want a husband, I want my kid, I want my family, I want all of that. And Rachel's like, I wanted to go to school, I want my own apartment, like, I want a car. Like, we look at each other, and there's bits and pieces from each other's lives that we feel like we want, or maybe we're missing. So it humbled me to know that, like, dang, like, I may look at her life like, dang, that's what I want, and she may look at mine like, dang, I want those pieces too. But at the end of the day, it's like a motivating thing. Like, even though I have it right now, don't mean you can't get it later.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think to piggyback off of what Silvery said, like I appreciate that is deep rooted. Like even when we have issues or whatever's going on, it's always gonna come back at some point, because even if like we haven't spoke for years or whatever, I'm still gonna see Mr. McKay and it's hey daddy.
Right.
And he's like, hey my daughter. And even if, whatever the differences are or whatever, I'm just like, okay, but I ain't seen her in a while, but how's Rachel? How's she doing? Is she good? Is she okay? I'm still praying for her. I still want to check, you know what I mean? Even if we don't speak, it's still like, that's still my sister. So I want to make sure she's good, even if we're in a low moment at the moment.
And then now I feel like it's making me, I probably didn't think about this before, but I'm thinking about it now because I don't have kids. But it's making me feel I want to be more intentional about us, because now a lot of us do have kids. And like,
For sure.
we about to be that village for another group of people, and we have to be more intentional about our actions so that they can see the same things that we saw when we grew up and we were younger.
Yeah,
because now us talking about it makes me realize how important that is, especially the way the world is now.
Yeah, I was thinking the other day, because me and T, we see each other a lot because we live down the street from each other now. But then when I see Ryan, I'm like, oh, okay, so now we have to be very intentional about the conversations we have in front of Ryan and how we act in front of Ryan. And then I'm like, okay, we got certain things to fix, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I was there when Mari was born, but now I haven't seen him in a long time. But I do want to be a part of his, village. And because she has a daughter and I have a son, I'm like, oh my gosh, if me and Rachel could get together, it could be amazing for Maddox to see Mari. So it makes you think, like,
And we
the
tell
stuff,
stories about
it makes you think like the stuff that you're mad about or your feelings are hurt about, it doesn't even matter. Like, we have to be intentional for the next generation that's coming behind us.
Cause my baby need her village.
Okay. I need my village.
Y'all about to be 30. Y'all about to be 30 for real.
Now we having a healing moment in the podcast.
I'm over here. This is good.
So as you guys were saying, and again, if you didn't go, you can jump in whenever you want. But as you guys were saying, one of the things is that when you were little, you were very tight knit, and you had no choice in it because we all lived, together. And I think for us, again, as parents, we corrected each other, maybe outside of you guys' thing, but to be intentional with, our children. But you guys have, sometimes grown out and grown apart or had things and then come back together. And so, as you just mentioned, Sylvie, one of the things is that this is unique and it can be powerful to the next generation, right? So, what is one thing, like I was saying, that you guys can do to ensure that for those of you who have children and for those of you who will have children, that you are intentional with the next generation? What is something that you can either take from something that we did wrong and you would do different, or something that you would take and appreciate it and now do it to ensure that the next generation has the same opportunity that you had? To be a child when you were a child, to feel protected, all the things that you guys talked about. How can you be intentional?
I think for me personally, like, me and Laird would always want to do whatever the older sisters were doing. And I think that one thing that I wish I could have changed and I won't carry on is getting so much in their business and their issues and making them my issues. I feel like what y'all go through is what y'all go through, and we should not be a part of it because it makes everything worse. And I think that's something that I wouldn't want to keep doing or encourage the next generation to do. Like, what somebody is going through is what they're going through and has nothing to do with you.
I like that. I think that's something that I was gonna say. Not like that. That's something I was gonna say. Also, something that I don't want my child to do that I do is hold grudges, because it's just not good. Especially with people who are family. It's just not a good thing to do. So I just definitely want to leave that behind and make sure he doesn't do anything with it. So
I would say communication. I've just learned over the years that communication is key in any relationship, whether it's personal, whether it's friendship. If there is something going on, then you guys need to talk about it right then and there, and just air it out so that it doesn't linger and hold on for years. And you're like, so what were we mad about to begin with?
Right.
I mean, and at the end of the day, we're friends, we're family, so it's like we're gonna have ups and downs. I feel like if you don't argue with your friend, then you're not really friends.
Right.
Then you're being fake. So to have an argument is okay. Like in life, you're gonna argue, you're gonna disagree, but knowing how to argue in a healthy manner.
Right.
Having a healthy disagreement. That's okay to be like, I understand where you're coming from. I acknowledge that. I may not feel that way or feel like that wasn't my intention, but I get why I made you feel that way. Okay, so what can we do moving past that so that if it comes up again, we don't end up where we are now?
Yeah, I like that.
You know what I mean? A lot of our stuff happened when we were younger. Like, we were young and dumb, we were stupid. So,
So that's real though.
I'm not that person that I was back then. Like, back then, I didn't care.
Right.
Oh, you don't want to talk to me? You done?
Right.
Do you,
Yep.
boo?
Yeah.
But now it's like you can't. When you've gone through stuff, you don't just cut people out your life like and be done with them. Like you barely got enough people in your life as it is. So it's like the ones that have been around. It's 21 years right here for all of us. So 21 years is a lot to throw away over a miscommunication, a misunderstanding, something that should have never happened in the first place.
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
So
But
communicating.
as you think of that, right, you know that all of you have to know that at some point we had to have disagreements with your parents and then
We
with
just
us,
never
right?
saw it.
Yeah, we didn't
Right.
understand that at our
Yeah.
age.
Right.
But yeah,
But y'all were smart enough to keep it from us, but in our mind, it just never happened.
Right.
It was
Right.
like one big happy
Yeah.
family.
Right.
Y'all saw all of our hot messes. But the one thing I do like is that y'all stayed out of it.
Yes.
Y'all might have tried to bring it together, to
together.
kind of woo-saw, whatever. It may not have worked in that moment, but you stayed out of it because you're like, at the end of the day, like they were saying, we're always going to be around each other in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
Our parents are always going to go to somebody's function, whatever, graduation, moving, wedding, birth, whatever. So it's always going to be some sort of connection. So communication is the biggest thing.
Yeah. And I want to say again, just for the audience, that again for us, it was very intentional. We saw the going in, the drama, the this, and you know, for part of it, as you guys know, I have this ridiculous thing. I'm like, you know, there was even some pride in knowing that all of you are strong, right, in your own will, and that's what happens with strong women, right? Is I have to voice my opinion. But because you guys were less, you know, experienced and less mature, you didn't know how to, you know, focus on, okay, it's just because that's her strength. And she has a right to believe what she believes, and I have a right to believe what I believe in our own strength. But again, I say that to say that that doesn't have to break up relationships. It's the value of being strong. And so as we, you know, as I said, you know, for us it was very intentional. We would see the drama, hear the stuff, and say, you know, they're gonna grow out of this, and they're gonna come back together. Because again, many times for us, especially in the military, is like chosen family almost has a stronger bond
Than blood.
than blood family.
Because you only pick them first, folks.
Right. So,
But that's what made it kind of difficult too, was because we're all chosen family, but then we have our blood. But then it makes, for me, it made me feel bad. Like, I'm gonna be loyal to my sister, but I also feel like these are my sisters, so it's hard. But like, at the end of the day, I just feel like it's a bunch of like you said, strong women butting heads, but really just immature. You know,
Really
all just really immature. And maybe that's something. I appreciate that y'all did, but maybe it's something that we lacked because y'all didn't argue or heal it in front of us, that we didn't know how to argue it on our own because we just thought we were too proud. Like, oh, this it.
And then it's like, because that's my sister, I'm always going to have your back. So if you telling me somebody said or did, I'm going to have your back regardless of what you saying. So like, knowing that even though you're my sister in the situation, if you're wrong, you're wrong. And I need to let you know that you're wrong, and to get you to do what you need to do to mend whatever that relationship was or whatever went wrong. And I think now that we are older, we're able to do that more so than just, oh, I got your back, let's go beat her up, whatever.
Right. Because there's been times I would think my sister's wrong, but I ain't finna say that because it's my sister. Now at this age, it's because I'm having other experiences too. I know how to be like, got your back, love you. you're wrong. Yeah.
Right.
You need to talk this out. You need to apologize. You need to, because especially now that we're older and you lose people, you see other friendships and how they work and how women actually are, and then you realize the value in this when you see how people outside of this really are and really act, and that the love is not as genuine as this is right here.
Yeah. And I think what I probably would pass on to Maddox in dealing with these different situations is keeping his perspective clear. Like for me, I am a Pisces. I'm extremely sensitive and everything hurts my feelings. But I have to be mindful, and I know that now that I'm older, that if my sister said something to me, whether it be Sylvia, whether it be Rachel, whether it be whoever, that is always going to come from a place of love. So you don't have to take it as somebody's bashing you or trying to hurt your feelings. Maybe they're just trying to better you because they love you, instead of taking it like, oh my gosh, they just tried me, they just threw shade. It's never coming from that when it's people that love you.
What agent would do to you?
Right.
Because I would never.
It's like this is a dynamic that not many people understand because it has been 21 years, so they don't understand that we're gonna fuss and fight one day, and I might be upset with her one day, but I'm gonna turn around and we're gonna be back cool the next day, because at the end, it's like family. You can fuss and argue with family, but y'all still gonna be cool. So
ain't nobody gonna come say nothing to me about y'all.
They might see it as, oh, that's just fake. You was just mad at them the other day. Okay, I'm allowed to be upset. I'm entitled to my feelings, and you can have yours too. But at the end of the day, if I want to be upset with them, I can be upset. But I'm still gonna be turning around the next day, and we're gonna be fine. But sometimes maybe that's another thing, is not venting to people or putting your problems into the hands of other people. Like everybody
don't understand the dynamic.
But don't give them that chance, that open avenue
to jump in your stuff.
Yeah, to have that opinion, and then you know we're already gonna be cool again anyway. So I'm gonna turn around and talk about you with this person, and they gonna turn around and feel some type of way. Well, you just did, okay?
Right.
That's what we do.
That's
That's what it is. Like, it's real family. Like, we all get mad at our real sisters, or not real, our blood sisters or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's my sisters. It's the same with everybody else here.
Right.
Like, we're all family. We're all sisters. So I'm gonna get mad at Rachel, Ashley, whatever, one day, and then be cool with them the next.
Right.
It is what it is.
And just so it's clear, when we are mad, can't nobody say nothing to them still, because we still got their back, even when we're not speaking.
I will say this friendship family is embedded on loyalty. What I've learned from this is the loyalty runs deep with us, and whether we are into it or not speaking, like, we may go through our stuff, but we're not gonna let nobody on the outside down talk any one of us.
Right.
Or it's us against y'all. I'm sorry.
I literally remember, I can't remember who it was, but I remember somebody saying something to me about somebody before, and them not even knowing that I knew them. I'm like, who you talking about? And I'm like, oh nah. You know that? Yeah. Yeah, I do. Relax. This ain't that.
So I'm going to bring it back to your father. So put your father in your mind, and think as young women, right? Whether you're married or you'll be married or seeking a relationship. Think about a trait about your dad that you know now has set a standard for you that you would want in a partner. Thank you for joining us for part 1 of The Village, The Bonds That Bind. Make sure you join us for part 2.